Now, all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.
And Transformers, and as INN's Christy Whitaker reports, store owners are having a hard time keeping up with the incredible demand.
These kids can tell you what's hot and what's not for Christmas, and awesome might be the word to describe the popularity of these robot action figures. And remember, it's only October.
They'll have it out in the paper and you run to get one and they're already gone, and there's not that many in stock anyway.
I have no idea what I'm doing here.
How about you? Can you figure it out?
No, I'm somewhere between a truck and I don't know what.
I am Optimus Prime.
It's clever the way it transforms from one thing to another.
Autobots, transform and roll out.
Depending on their size, the toys range in price from $6 to $35. Both have command centers and comic books which explain how the creatures came to Earth and which are the good guys and which are the bad.
Decepticons, transform! As you command, Megatron.
I am the leader of the future!
You couldn't lead androids to a picnic.
Last year, Coleco Industries, which manufacture the hot-selling item Cabbage Patch Dolls, rang up orders totaling $60 million. But this year, the GoBots and Transformers will give those dolls a run for their money. Both companies say they've already had orders totaling more than $100 million. What's particularly desirable about such a toy?
You can make them into anything you want. It makes some weird shapes. It makes your imagination run away.
In 1981, the Reagan administration lifted heavy regulations over children's programming. This paved the way for shows and toy lines like He-Man, G.I. Joe, and Transformers to do gangbusters business. This also made it possible for children in toy aisles to go absolutely bananas. See what I did there? Essentially, for the first time in decades, programs were allowed to be made that were 30-minute commercials directed at children. There were major concerns about how this would affect our generation, but I turned out just fine. The birth of the action figure began with the success of the 12-inch G.I. Joe and similar Army toys from the 1960s. However, patriotic American war toys were less popular in foreign countries, particularly in Japan. There, the G.I. Joe mold would be imported to become a clear see-through robot character known as Henshin Cyborg. As conflicts around the world escalated into the 1970s, petroleum costs skyrocketed as it became more scarce. In turn, the oils used to create plastic for toys needed to be conserved. Instead of canceling the successful line, the Henshin Cyborg was instead shrunk down to create the Microman line. American kids of the 1970s would have known them as Micronauts once they were imported. With their success overseas, the Microman line evolved into tiny riders of large vehicles that could change into robot warriors. Many transforming robots began showing up in the years ahead, and it was only a matter of time before American toy companies jumped on the trend. That's when Hasbro teamed with Japanese company Takara in order to import two of their changing robot lines, Microchange and Diaclone. Together, these two toy lines would be given a brand new storyline and be rebranded as the Transformers. Despite Tonka's GoBots beating into market by a matter of months, Transformers was still a smash hit the moment it reached shelves. The war between these two brands was on. Despite GoBot's noteworthy success in sales, after a year and a half, Transformers had won control of our imaginations. Not to mention our parents' disposable income. When we talk about Transformers G1, or Generation 1, we're referring to the original Transformers, which involves 3 separate versions happening at the same time. They all involve the same major characters, the same key events, but ultimately they're just contradictory enough to be 3 separate stories. They are the original animated cartoon, which we will be focusing on in these videos, the Marvel comic, and the UK Marvel comic. Neither comic adaptation shied away from death or the lasting consequences of war. Some key events and details were the same, however others drastically different. such as Shockwave's loyalty to Megatron. We've seen the Autobots come to prehistoric Earth in search of resources, but in the US comic, cataclysmic events of the Great War had caused Cybertron to shift away from its original orbit. Now, an approaching meteor storm threatened to destroy the planet, unless Prime and his crew were to intervene. Despite their success, the Decepticons attack just the same once again, leading to the Transformers crashing on prehistoric Earth, only to be revived in similar ways. Energon is the lifeblood of the Transformers race. Originally portrayed as a Decepticon method of refueling, eventually the series would retcon this detail, showing Autobots harvesting and collecting it on ancient Cybertron of the past. In the futuristic year of 2005, our heroes have established Autobot City on Earth. There, Energon is harvested naturally, using Earth's renewable resources. As a storytelling tool, Energon serves as a symbol for energy, fuel, medicine, nourishment, ammunition, and even in some cases, currency. Plus, there's an episode coming up in Season 2 where the Decepticons drink too much of it, and they totally get their buzz on.
This stuff's the greatest! Those were the good old days back on Cybertron! Didn't have to sneak around in these ugly Earth disguises!
It's important to acknowledge the grown-up real-world events that were happening at that time that led to inspiration for this story. In an ongoing Cold War, patriotism was flying high here in America. However, world events of the previous decade had led to an energy crisis that was still fresh on everyone's mind. And even as some prospered here in the United States, we were no longer blinded from ongoing famine beyond our borders. Art imitates life, and the story of the Transformers begins. The forces of good and evil locked in a war over vital resources. Hey everyone, if you like these clips, you can see them in their entirety in my full episode, Leo Watches Transformers, More Than Meets the Eye, parts 1 through 3. I also have full episodes for all of Season 1, and new episodes for Transformers Season 2 are coming out all the time. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.